Hi, welcome to Hamilton and Hazen, Behind the Mic. Join author M.L. Hamilton and me, I'm narrator Kelley Hazen, as we discuss our latest audiobook. Born from more than a decade of award-winning collaboration and almost 100 audiobooks we've produced together, listen to the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs, the inside track you love to follow, Behind the Mic.
Welcome to Behind the Mic number 30. This is our special edition where we're going to talk about sort of the production of audiobooks and kind of what goes into that. This is probably more geared toward author narrator teams, but it might be some good insight for our listeners too, to kind of how we do this whole thing, how we produce this, and how other authors and narrators do this. So welcome, Kelley.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I think everyone should know we're a mess. No, we sat down to do this and we each thought we were going to do a different thing.
Exactly.
So we're kind of, as always, we are shooting from the seat of our pants.
We're pivoting. That's what we're doing.
We're pivoting. We're being agile and fragile.
Yes, we are.
So we each thought we were going to do something different and we decided, but we're doing this.
We're going for it.
Right. Okay.
So this whole conversation started. You and I were talking about during the production of Renegade of Eldon, which just came out on May the 1st. One of the characters' name was Alix, and it was one of the few times you asked me how I heard that name being pronounced, because usually I don't tell you, you figure out your own pronunciation. And you would ask me, and I said, I heard it as Alix. And you said, I hear it as that too, except for it's so close to Alex, and Alex is more common. I'm worried that this is, or something to that effect, that this is going to be hard to remember this in the midst of reading. So I'll let you speak to that.
I've been amazed lately at, and I think it's worse right now, or not worse, but I think it's more prominent because I don't think it's a bad thing, how we are, each of us human beings are moving through the world with such, not blinders, but like we have to be so focused because there's so much distraction coming at us that when we have conversations, we're hearing completely different things.
Yeah.
Okay. You have the most creative names. And this actually fed into this conversation that you had with this other author at the Sacramento Festival, because she was saying that she had actually sent a pronunciation guide to her narrator.
That's right.
Because she was so attached
to
the way that her characters' names had to be pronounced.
Right.
And I said, you never do that to me. You let me say them however I want to say them, because you want me to be comfortable.
Right.
And that you think whatever you heard in your head when you were writing, that you were confident that I would say it or pronounce the names the way that, at least to me, made the most sense to hear them and say them.
Yeah.
And that you trusted me. The big word out of that whole thing was trust.
Yeah.
This narrator this author that you spoke with had not developed the trust in her audiobook production team that you and I have had from the beginning. I mean, I think it was innate. We identified it in each other. So that being said, when I see a written name, right? Yours are so creative. They're spelled creatively. They're pronounced. I find interesting pronunciations. They're names I've never heard before. Rarely have you had offered a name of a character that may have had an interesting spelling, but when I looked at it, it's still pronounced
Yeah.
a pretty normal pronunciation. For some reason, Megan keeps coming up. I don't know. And you've never had a character named Megan. Although in Fugitive of Eldon, which is book 11, which is the one we're recording right now, there is Mayrin
Yes.
or Myron, or I mean, there's a
Yeah.
Marin. It could have been Marin. It's Mairin, right?
Yes. Yes.
But still, it could have been Marin. I'm pronouncing it Mayrin
Yes.
because she goes by a nickname,
It goes
May,
by
which
May. Yes.
Marin could go by May, but
Yeah.
that's another story. That's another episode. Going back to Renegade of Eldon, the character Alix, Alix. I wanted to double check that this wasn't because it's so close to Alex. And if you pronounce it with a short I, Alex, Ix,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Alex, it could be Alex.
Right.
So I wanted to clear it with you if you were going for Alex, but just spelling it differently, or if you actually wanted a different pronunciation. And you
Right.
said, I was thinking Alix.
Yes.
So we called it Alix. We went with Alix.
Right.
Now, the thing that was tricky about it is that this one looks so close to Alex. It's just one letter off. When I narrate, I mean, maybe this isn't every narrator's experience, but when I narrate, it's like a train on a track. It's like when you sing, right? And you can equate it to reading out loud. You don't read word to word,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
You read and speak in a stream. It has forward motion, right?
Yeah.
My eyes see Alex
Yes.
because that's what or my brain, whatever it is, my lizard brain, that's what we can say. My lizard brain immediately would go to Alex. And you noted, I said I felt it happening, and
Mhm.
it was right. How many chapters in Renegade of Eldon? It's something like 28 or something.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of chapters,
Yeah.
right? Maybe 30 if you count the epilogue and the prologue.
Right. Right.
Right around chapter 19. I mean, we must have had, oh my God, we had like 14 times. You and I never have fixes. It's so
No.
rare. It's
No.
so rare.
No.
This was just the fixes between chapter 12 and chapter 20. Where's the, you know, but magically after chapter 20, it didn't happen again.
Yeah.
My brain made the shift
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Alix became Alix. So that was, did we get completely off track? But that was what happened. And it was, but the original conversation was about this other
Right.
author.
Right. Yeah. Right. So last month
How did that conversation, well, go ahead. That's exactly what you're about to do.
So last month I attended the Sacramento Book Festival, which it's this third year, and it's become this huge event in Sacramento. And I think at the last estimate, there were 250 authors that showed up to sell their books, and there were
How many are at the state fair?
I run 7 a day. Over the 17 days of the state fair, I think we run about 40 authors through the booth. But this
250?
250 authors, yeah, and they came from all over California. It wasn't just Sacramento area. And so and they estimates are conservative estimates are that there were 7,000 readers who showed up and bought books, and people were leaving with bags of books. It was just impressive, and this is the third year they've had it, and it's just getting bigger and bigger each year. So I had a table with another author, and of course, as you do, which we didn't have a whole lot of downtime, but we got to talking, and she asked me because I had my brochure out there about our audiobooks, because I have a brochure that I give out to people, because a lot of people come up and they say they want that they don't read, or they can't read physical books anymore. They want audiobooks. So I've made up a brochure that kind of talks about our audiobooks, so I can give those people that brochure. And she saw it, And so she started asking me about the audiobooks. And so she was sharing with her experience. She has two books. And she had
Two books or two audiobooks?
she has two books and with companion audiobooks going
Okay.
along with those books. And she was saying she had chosen to do it on her own. She didn't go. So you and I contract with ACX, which is the distributor to Audible. She had
One
chosen,
of them, yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. She had chosen not to go that route. She wanted control over the audiobooks, over her royalties. And so she's selling them directly through her website. And she was mentioning that she had hired a team, two audiobook actors, one male, one female. The male read all of the male parts, the female read all the female parts, and that it had been terrifically expensive to do it this way. And that she had not earned back even a fraction of what she had spent on doing it, and how difficult it was with two different actors. And like you had mentioned earlier in this segment, was that she had given them a pronunciation guide for her characters, and even then, it took a lot of corrections and redoing because both of them, didn't necessarily pronounce them the same way or stay consistent with the pronunciations. And of course, the names were. This is a fantasy book, so the names were very challenging. And she said if she were to do it again, she would make simpler names, not make them so challenging, and um, still have the pronunciation guideline, but that she would try and make it a little bit easier on the tongue. And so I was talking to you about this whole experience, and it kind of echoes what we heard when we were at BoucherCon of when we went to see the audiobook production panel. They said that the future of audiobooks was to have these huge panel productions, and that it's going to get rid of any indie author. No indie authors would be able to afford this, and so they would have to get out of the audiobook business because it would be so expensive to hire this entire production team and that they were going to be auditory movies or something to that effect. And I thought it was interesting. It was interesting because you and I have had great success
Hmm.
with our audiobooks.
Was th
And
was this the episode of Behind the Mic that we were going to celebrate? What number? What was the number
oh,
audiobook?
I can tell you. But yes, yes. So I
Okay.
can let you know what it is. But
Okay.
anyway, it's just this interesting evolution that's happening in audiobooks that we'll see. So we're celebrating our 63,624th sold audiobook, which is a pretty impressive number, to be honest with you. And
We
so
also think that's funny.
it's hysterical, yeah.
We're not
Um,
celebrating 64,000. We're not
no, no,
celebrating
why would you do that? But anyway,
63,624 audiobooks.
yes.
Woo!
Um, so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to see how this has evolved. It's evolved so much from I remember as a child going on trips and my parents having these little cassettes that, had the Lord of the Rings on it. And we listened to those in the car as we were going on vacation. And they were all read by the same British actor. And it's just the evolution of audiobooks. And I think I was talking with this author about it too, is I think sometimes we miss the mark of what an audiobook does, what it's for, and we try and make it into another medium like a movie or something like that when it's its own experience, it's its own art form. And so it just seems interesting that there's this push to try and get, which this is always happening, right? It's the publishers disliking indie publishing. It's, there's always this push to try and make things exclusive that somehow makes the quality better, like, or there's no competition, or there's no, and I think the counter is true, obviously, that I think.
Oh yeah. Well, and I also think it's probably capitalism rearing its ugly head
Mhm.
again, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The downside of capitalism. I mean, first of all, what is it called? An audio book,
right, right,
right? The purpose of audiobooks was well, the original purpose of audiobooks, I mean, you brought up the topic, what is the purpose of an audiobook? The original purpose of an audiobook was to create an opportunity for people who could not see
right,
to hear a book.
right.
But the book was still the focus,
Yes,
right? The research that I've done, and you may have, and of course, in this day and age of a lot, you can get facts to support anything you want, right? But the research that I've done is that the only area of publishing that's truly a growth area is audiobooks,
yeah,
right? Print books are actually going down,
right,
meaning fewer people are reading print.
right.
Ebooks are holding steady, and then audiobooks have exploded. It's a billion-dollar industry.
Yeah,
The $1 billion is going to the publishers, the book publishers, right?
yeah.
And it's the big publishers, right? Not the little publishers, the big, what is it? You told me there are three, there
Three.
used to
There's
be
the
five and now
the
there are
the
three.
big three. Yeah,
Right. And a lot of the little publishers, kind of like when Whole Foods before Amazon started buying up all the local small organic grocers, and they didn't turn them into Whole Foods, they just put them out of business. The big publishers have started buying any of the little successful publishers and either putting them out of business or making them an arm.
right.
I just finished I don't know if it's the Thursday Murder Club. It might be the book I read before that, but it was talking about it's a very small elite, boutique publisher, which is an arm of Simon and Schuster. And it's like, well, how does that make it a boutique publisher? It's just another name. But anyway, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, back to audiobooks. Audiobooks is so huge that the people who make audiobooks and the divisions. Audible is a good example. Audible doesn't publish books. Audible publishes audiobooks
Right.
and they sell audiobooks.
Right.
And so how can they maximize their bottom line or their top line, or you're right, their
Yeah.
income by making even more audiobooks. And we literally listened at VoucherCon to these audiobook publishers talk about abridging the book.
They did. I forgot that, but you're
Yeah,
right. They
so that they
did.
could connect more
Yes.
explosions and
Yes.
sound
Yes.
effects. And it's like,
Yes.
how does that serve the book?
It was the
How do,
Michael Bay version of audiobooks. Yes. Yeah, that's right. I forgot
and
about
yeah,
that.
and they wanted them to become little auditory, but I think it's because they think that people that listen to audiobooks are more interested in the audio experience than they are in getting the book experience.
Right, which is where I think they missed the mark. I mean, I know this for a fact from, I've mentioned this before, my son, visually impaired, listens to audiobooks constantly, and he doesn't want explosions and stuff like that. He wants the book. He wants to hear the book because he can no longer read a book. He wants that experience of reading a book the way that
I,
he can consume that information. And he
I think
doesn't want a big production. He doesn't want to watch a movie. It's
I think that's the study that's missing. That's missing
yeah.
is what, or the research that's missing is what is the experience that the majority of audiobook listeners are looking for, right?
Well,
But
and
the
as
more
myself, as I listen to audiobooks, I've become a convert since you and I started working to listening to audiobooks. What I want to hear is that I want to hear the book. I want to
Mhm.
experience the book as a book. I don't want to, if I want to watch a movie, I'll watch a movie. I
Right.
don't want that when I'm listening to an audiobook. It has a different purpose for me.
Right. But the thing, but the audiobook, the people that are producing and publishing audiobooks right now, for every element in the production of the audiobook that they get a publisher, a book publisher, or a book writer to sign off on, it's just they make a taste on top of it. For every narrator, that fee is marked up
Right,
and they get a percentage. So
right.
the bigger the production, the more money they can charge, and the more money they can make, the more money they can charge the writer slash and their publisher, and the more money they can charge at the other end to the consumer.
But
And
here's
it's
where here's where I feel that that misses the mark is it's not that people are going to keep paying an endless amount more money for that experience. They're going to find the books that they can afford that meet their needs. I mean, I think that, yeah, we're always being told we need bigger and better, right? And we need to pay more money for an experience. And I think what indie art has shown us is that there's a way to access art where you don't have to pay those ridiculous, I mean, I'd rather go see a band in a coffee shop or a small pub than pay $500 to go see a big star in a stadium. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
what
yeah,
it's
no,
doing is
absolutely.
it's allowing those indie markets now to become viable because
W-
they're
I
pricing people out,
Yeah, but also the downside to that is AI.
which is scary. That could be a whole other
Mhm.
um
Well, and we have to count on the consumer for that, right? On a discerning ear.
yes.
Are they looking for an authentic experience? Are they looking for an authentic experience, right? And can they tell the difference? Are they listening closely enough that they can tell the difference?
At
And how good can AI get?
Well, at this point, my son was trying to show me like some of the AI stuff and having it read my book. And it was so the emotion. This is where I don't know that they can ever get it to where it's not going to be recognizable because the emotion was never placed in the right place. It was
Mm.
always either melodramatic and inappropriate. And so I don't know how AI is ever going to be able to get the nuance that you get when I write a scene and I deliberately, which it gets us into our next topic of conversation is the writing to audio. I deliberately will put in certain punctuations that I know you're going to read and I know you're going to understand. I want to pause here. I want, you intuitively get that because you're human and you understand what emotion I'm trying to put into the writing. I don't know how AI is ever going to be able to do that. I don't see it refined enough to be able to read human emotion the same way that a human can.
Well, you know what it is. You know what it is too, and it's interesting. I mean, so first of all, we have no idea, right? It'll just be interesting to see what the potential of AI can be. But also, what I do is, I don't want to say 100% because who knows if anything's 100%. The majority of what I do is choices that are made spontaneously in the moment. AI is not spontaneous or in the
Right,
moment. It's trying to
right.
recreate. It's intentionally going back to the past of what it knows
Yes,
and trying to, on a really, I mean, I don't know what AI is, but what I've read, what I understand, it has a bulk of knowledge and it's pulling from that knowledge as it goes
yes,
and throwing it in there and that's a lot of steps to get to the end result. Whereas, and I think that's what we respond to as human beings is the spontaneous reaction,
yes,
is the unexpected in that moment humanity.
yes,
And truly, by definition, AI will never be human.
Right.
It will never capture that humanity. So it's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be really, I mean, I've been really amazed. I don't want to say shocked, but amazed lately. So as AI has become legalized, or has gotten through the vetting process and has been released on us, um, I've become really aware of where it's appeared in my life recently. And it's amazing. It's amazing what it can do. You
Yeah.
Google something and AI has the power to take what would have taken so much time looking at all these different, sources to find out what the majority opinion was. And it just does it for you. Now, are those sources that are all those sources the ones that you would trust in order to make your decision?
Right.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I had some problem on oh, where my website is, they overcharged me. Let's just say that. They overcharged me. And I wound up doing the chat. I got
Yeah.
this like on my phone, right? American Express sends me a text that goes, "Did you just spend $8,365,000 on your website?" And it was like, so I went to the website to see what the heck was going on. And I just used the chat bot. I don't think it was chat bot, but it was, the
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
virtual chat. It's AI, solved the problem,
Yeah.
fixed it, took off
Yeah.
the charge, switched the plan, did the whole thing. And it was really, and I can remember a time when I used one in the past and it wasn't as good. Now, maybe it was a different company, maybe it learned, who knows. But I mean, AI really does have the potential. We just got our roof done and really sweet guy. He became a friend. He brought his fiance to meet us. Long story. But she's getting her degree, her graduate degree in AI.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's about the applications for AI. It's a business degree, right? How AI can improve and streamline businesses. But so there's a lot of potential there. I did want to bring up, moving on to a new subject, unless you have something you want to say. One of the other questions I have a million questions about how this woman was able to do the audiobook herself,
Right. Right.
because the very nature of the technology that turns our 30 files of Renegade of Eldon into one download is proprietary. So I'm curious as to how she did that. And
She
so she,
went through a company
okay,
that did that. Yeah, they had their own setup, but she paid everything for it. And they're the ones that had the stable of actors for her to choose from. But
okay.
then I guess which I'm so ignorant of, the things that you guys do on your end of it, but I guess they made the audio files or whatever and sent it to her. And so then she can sell it through her website.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. And my second question was, where did she find the narrators who didn't follow the pronunciation guide that she
Yeah.
gave them? So they were making mistakes on how to pronounce the names.
Yeah.
I mean, what a waste of time to send supposedly a professional narrator a pronunciation guide and then have them either A, not use it, or B, not know how to use it, or
To be fair to them, I don't know because I haven't read the books. I don't know how, you know, fantasy can have some names that are just absolutely asinine. I'm just going to say it. They're absolutely asinine. Like, nobody can pronounce a name like what sometimes you see on these um, fantasy books. And so, I mean, to be fair, to play the devil's advocate for them is that, I mean, were the names so way out there that, there was no way to consistently say them because they just didn't roll off the tongue. Who knows?
I'd throw it back at whoever was helping her. Why, if those narrators have problems with names like that, they shouldn't have been
yeah,
brought up for her to consider to do the book. I'm hardline, but that's me. Um, the question I remember as you were sharing with me about this conversation with this author at the Sacramento Book Festival, that the discussion of the names brought her to the question to you. She asked you if now that you're doing audiobooks, how that has impacted your writing, and if it had impacted your writing, knowing that it was going to then be recorded or spoken out
right,
loud by other people. And what was
right.
your answer?
Yeah, so that was the second topic that I wanted to talk
Oh, cool.
during this. Yeah, so we're on the same page.
Cool.
Is
Ah,
yeah, so she
it's
did.
a pun.
She asked me if yeah, exactly that, had working with you as my narrator changed my writing style. And I said absolutely. It is dramatically changed my writing style. I When I write now, maybe not the first draft. I try to keep the first draft where it's just, you know, thought to page, and not, I try and turn that internal editor off. But when I go back and I edit a few times, I come in with it thinking about how it's going to sound when you read it, and where are the pauses, and where is the punctuation supposed to be. And then the other thing that I shared with her that has changed is I tend to shorten my sentences so that they are not, that you can do them within a normal human breath span. And that is not something I had ever.
Can you see what
Yes,
that says?
yes,
I
yes,
was just I just wrote that down. Before you said it, I wrote it down. Go ahead and then I'll speak to
yeah.
this.
So the idea of shorter sentences, which I think is better for readers too, right? Because you don't lose the natural train of thought as you're going through a very long sentence with a lot of, clauses attached to it. That has significantly changed my writing. That awareness of, shorter is better. And so I think there, and then also I was having a discussion with my middle son Nick yesterday, because he's writing about dialogue, and he was saying I struggle with dialogue. And I think for me, dialogue has always been easy for me to write, but after hearing you read my dialogue, I try to go for as natural a cadence in speaking as I can. And I told him, I said, do you read your dialogue back out loud to yourself? You need to read your dialogue back out loud to yourself. Shut the door, tell the kids to go somewhere else, read it back to yourself so you can hear it, because it's so vitally important to hear your own dialogue, to see if it feels natural, to see if it has the right cadence of speech. You can't get that on the page. You have to hear it.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
is something I learned um, by working with you.
Oh, that's nice. By hearing, right? By hearing
Yeah.
your words read back to you. The reason I wrote longer sentences is, and bringing it's interesting that it comes back around again, is so I think this last chunk of World of Samar, right? It was what was right before Renegade Followers of Eldon?
No,
Apostles,
apostles,
apostles, apostles of Eldon, renegade of Eldon, and
fugitive.
now fugitive of
Yeah.
Eldon. Um, we noticed it. I noticed it and kept my mouth shut. And then you said it to me. This book is this book is different. This book feels different than the last eight. And I said, I wasn't going to say anything. And you actually decided to go back and edit
Yeah.
or just sort of speed edit Renegade and
Yeah.
Fugitive. And one of the most telling or the most I don't want to say telling. I mean, that's just one of the things I noticed was that your sentences, not that they were run on, because I think you would probably fall down dead before you would write a run on sentence, but they were so much longer.
Yeah.
They were sentences that you would have cut,
Yeah.
like one sentence that you would have cut into three. If you were writing it right now, you wouldn't have lost any of the information. You
Right.
just wouldn't have chosen to put it all in
Yeah.
one beat,
Yeah.
and so that's why I wrote longer sentences, because that was that
Yes.
and those books were written. Those were some of your earliest work,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so
And
pre-audiobook.
that's when I went back in, the things that I went back in to fix was that I broke up sentences. I broke up paragraphs too,
Mhm.
because to me, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I were reading out loud and I see a paragraph that's, like this long, that's daunting. And so I try to break the paragraphs into more chunkable
Mhm.
sections. And then the other thing is I tightened up the dialogue. I tightened it up and made it, a little bit more, less expository and a little bit more, just natural.
What, well, and I think that's interesting. I think you've learned it's interesting because as human beings, we know this innately, right? We know
Right.
this instinctively that when someone says something, there's so much more to read what they mean than just the words they say,
Yeah.
right? What is the look on their face? What is the pitch of their
Yes.
voice? What is the volume of their voice?
Right.
What is their body language, right? And when you're writing, I think as a writer, just early days, the dialogue, you're trying to make this, you think all you have are the words.
Yes.
And maybe, you know what? Maybe you do. Of course, you have description, you have, right? But there's still subtext, right? That a playwright, he writes a play. It's just the words that the
Yes.
actor says, and we, whether it's dramatic literature that is a play or whether it's a script that is a play that an actor is acting, both parties, right, get the subtext from what's happened before, from the tone of the scene,
Yes.
from the intangibles
Yes.
that the writer has created. The fiction writer is no less responsible, than the playwright, than the dramatic
Exactly.
writer. And
Exactly.
so the dialogue comes down to what would that character, what would that person, what would they actually say? What would they
Yeah.
actually say?
Yes.
Right. And um and so it's, and I think I'm not going to say any more about that because to me that's I've said enough, right? What would a person actually say in that situation?
I think the important part of that, what you brought up, is what would the character say?
Mm,
Because that's different. And I know, and where this makes me think of it is I'm listening to, which I've mentioned that I always do this. I listen to the previous book, before I start the next book. So I'm listening to the cross burning case right now.
mm,
And I was thinking, so there's three characters in the thing that I find interesting. There's Harper McLeod, who's the reporter. There's Georgia Sweeney, who is the district attorney, and then there's Peyton. And there are scenes between Harper and Georgia and scenes between Peyton and Georgia. And I was thinking about the subtlety of how you code switch between those characters because Harper comes at it and she's very direct and she says what she thinks from thought to mouth. It comes straight out. Where Peyton is more nuanced. Peyton kind of she'll circle around a little bit and then she'll go for the heart, but it's that she'll do a dance with them before she goes. And I was thinking how interesting it is to see those three characters and the way. And then Georgia's always attack mode, right? Everything was a threat and an attack, and and those subtleties of their personality and the way they approach dialogue is interesting. And I was noticing it where there's a chapter where Harper is talking to Georgia and questioning what she's doing. She's digging up her backyard, and Harper's questioning her, and she's being very direct with her. And of course, then George is threatening her to have her arrested for trespassing. And then literally right after that is a scene where Peyton comes out and starts questioning her about what she's doing, but it's a very different method. It's a very subtle method of kind of dancing around this person, no less effective, probably more effective. But I was thinking how interesting it is that you can code switch in those cases because the dialogue is very different for all three of those characters. And as the performer, you're performing all three of those women and code switching and bringing those inflections because Peyton has I was listening to it. Peyton's voice has a tendency to kind of lay back. I don't know if that makes sense. Where Harper is very front forward, and then Georgia is always defensive. There's always immediately that's her first knee jerk reaction. And so it was interesting because there's a subtlety in your voice when you switch between those characters.
It's so funny because I haven't thought about it like that. And I didn't go, oh, okay, I have these three women that are asking questions. How can I make them different? That never was a part of it. But as I just listened to you now, all three of their professions are about asking questions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You've got a journalist, a police person, a police detective, and an attorney. And in each of those professions, their approach would be because the end result, what are you trying? What is your end? What is
Yes.
the end result you're shooting for?
Yeah.
Now, but the thing that's sort of interesting about Georgia is that in the church burning case,
Cross burning.
cross burning case, um, we don't see her in the courtroom.
No.
It's
No.
she's under fire in a different way.
Yeah.
And I actually, it would be really, we do have moments where we see her, but she's almost on the other side of her job.
Yeah.
I
There's a
loved that book.
moment where Peyton remarks to, I think it's Jennifer, or it's Layla Knox, who's the police detective of the precinct that's in that area. And Peyton remarks about that because Georgia is a prosecuting attorney, everything is threat based. Everything is what she's going to do to punish somebody for crossing a line.
She's on the attack.
She's
Yeah,
on the attack. Yeah.
and that was a wonderful, it's a wonderful book. It's a wonderful story, and it was a wonderful opportunity to narrate. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait till we get done with World of Samar. No, no, I don't mean that, but yeah. No, I'm looking forward. I know because obviously we're on Fugitive Eldon. And then we're going to do Savior of Eldon, which is Samar in the new era, the modern era.
Yes.
One more thought about something you brought up, which was the size of paragraphs.
Yes.
It's really kind of interesting, and this is about audiobook production and not. Well, it is interesting. It's either interesting or it's not. I'm just going to say it. When I narrate Peyton, so there's always a question. Okay, I'm going to keep backing up steps, right? I got referred to somebody to narrate for him, and they asked for my rate sheet. And for those in the know, it's what do I charge basically, and it's a sheet because it's different rates for different things. I don't care. It's not how I do it. And I just let them know I negotiate by project. And the reason for this, aside from the fact that I produce audiobooks, I don't just narrate them.
Right.
So.
Right.
But speaking to your point, when I narrate Peyton, I can narrate usually between 25, 30, sometimes 35 or 40 pages a day. When I narrate Samar, I can only narrate 20, maybe a little over 20. Now, yes, that has something to do with font size, right?
Oh, yeah.
But not really. It has to do because at the end of the day, it's the same number of words. An audiobook, about 10,000 words is a finished hour of audio, roughly, for me, right? And everybody's different, right? And projects are different because tempo, right?
Right.
Some need to be slower,
Yeah.
can be faster. But what it is that Samar, the world of Samar is way more narration.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
whatever reason, whether it was because you weren't as comfortable writing dialogue as this was some of your first work and you've grown more comfortable, maybe it's because it's epic fantasy and the dialogue seemed less appropriate, or because it's fantasy and there was more world building to
I
do.
think it's the last one. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's the last
but
one.
at the end of the day, if you just visualize it,
Yeah.
right? If it's dialogue, sometimes one whole line on a
Yeah.
page will just be no,
Yeah.
right? And so as a narrator, I can move down that
Yeah.
page a
Yeah.
lot faster,
Interesting.
and it's going to take me a lot more pages to get to whatever that number is. I record for about 2.5 to 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's why it's the number of pages I
How
can get through,
interesting.
because I'm saying the same number of words. When it's narration, every single line goes all the way
Yeah.
across the page
Yeah.
until you get to the end of a paragraph, and then maybe it ends somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And then you start the new paragraph and it goes all the way across the page. So it's,
That's fascinating. It's
yeah,
labor intensive.
yeah. Well, it's more words on a page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there's a total number of words that I can speak in 2.5 to 3 hours, if there's more words on a page, I'm going to
Yeah.
get through fewer pages.
Yeah.
And and so it's interesting. It's interesting because whether it's because you got more comfortable, I more characters,
More
I don't know,
characters.
all
Yeah.
of the reasons, right? More contemporary characters.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's when I look at a book, or thumb through it or scroll through it and see blocks,
Yeah.
then I know, okay, this is going to take. And
How
that's why I tell
interesting.
you, I can't tell you how long this is going to take by number of pages. I
Yeah.
need a word count.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
fascinating, actually.
Uh, It's, I think it is, but who knows?
No, it's very fascinating. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and preview what's coming up? So we
Oh,
just
I think you should, because I remember this and I walked away with a warm heart. After you had this conversation with this author at the Sacramento Book Festival,
yes.
you wanted to talk to me about it because you realized what?
What did I realize?
How lucky we are, how much
Oh,
trust we
yes.
have.
No, yes. Oh, that was another thing that came up in the conversation. Yes. Sorry. I don't know why I'm being so
It's
dense
all right.
today. But
We were
that's
going to
another
talk
thing.
about something completely different.
That's another thing that came up in the conversation is she asked me if I was royalty sharing with you. And I said, absolutely. And she says, well, I would never do that because I want the money coming directly to me. It's my book. It's my, um, you know, creation. And I said, that's interesting. That's a different perspective, clearly. And I said, for me, what I find about it is that it's not my book. I mean, and to be honest with you, the minute that your book goes out in the public, it's no longer yours. Whoever reads it, they bring to the table whatever they bring to the table. It doesn't belong to you anymore. Not to disparage this other author, but um so I've always had that understanding that once the book leaves me and goes out into the world, it's their experience too. It's their relationship with those characters. But what I said to her was, what I find so valuable, so incredibly valuable, is the fact that there are two of us who are committed to the success of these books. And there are two of us who are promoting it. There are two of us who are marketing it. There are two of us who can speak to it, who can talk about it. And that is so beneficial and so unique. And I was mentioning to you that it became very clear to me when we were at VoucherCon. We were the only author narrator team that was there, and they all seemed kind of surprised that we were there together promoting the books. And what a unique relationship you and I have developed over this. But that idea of having a second person, a partner to promote what I do is so valuable to me, and it's so unique, and it is what has made, I think, the success that we've had. Because I think it's that commitment that we both have to what we've done, what we've created. And so no, I mean, so the books originate with me, but then you bring your own artistry to it. It's a whole, it's a collaborative project, really, between the
It,
two of us.
it's interesting, isn't it? Because I know, I know that the whole, I mean, it's gone beyond, well, for me, I think it's gone beyond royalty sharing,
Yes.
and I think the whole concept of royalty sharing was something that, and we have Audible and ACX, Amazon Audible, ACX to thank for the concept of royalty sharing. I mean, I'm sure it was there somewhere else, but they made it sort of an everyday, potentially everyday occurrence. Um, there's a lot of narrators that would royalty share and not promote the
Right.
books at all. They took the concept of royalty sharing as just that they would earn their payment for recording on the back end,
Well,
right?
and I think you've had the experience too that there's a lot of authors that think that they don't need to promote their books either.
Yeah, oh
You know?
yeah. And I mean I don't get that. I don't get that at all. I mean, if my books sell well, then I'm more valuable as a narrator to anybody,
Right.
not just you.
Right.
And if I promote the books I do, then that makes me more valuable as a narrator, as somebody who's involved and talks about the work. So, oh, that narrator is going to talk about the work we do. But it's gone beyond that. I mean, and I maybe people get sick of hearing us talk about this, but I think what you and I do, and the word goes back to trust,
Yes.
right? The whole idea that one author feels a pronunciation guide is necessary compared to you, who your innate response was, I'm going to trust her, you know? And I honestly think I could have been anybody at that point, and you would have said, or maybe not, but you said, nah, I'm going to trust that person, you know? And if, if any author is out there or any audiobook narrator that's trying to decide if they should get into a relationship with a writer and record with them. And this is so silly because we're getting ready to get solar. We're considering getting solar on our roof.
Right.
And we got this document, this terms and conditions document, and it was offensive. I called the solar people and I said, okay, well, I'm ready to just tank this deal because this document from the roofers that do the initial work is offensive. It starts out, dear valued homeowner, and then it is completely insulting from that point on to the final clause that says I have to sign this and say they can put a lien on my house
Yeah.
if somebody else doesn't pay them. It's like, what? They sent somebody from the root. They said, okay, throw the document away, and we're going to send somebody from the roof company to talk to you and look at the, survey the project. And the guy came out. I immediately liked him. And he said, if there's not trust between you and I, then we shouldn't work together.
Yes.
If we have, whether we felt it from the beginning or whether we developed it over a period of time, I trust you. I trust you with my life. And I want you to do well. And I want us to do well.
Yes.
And I feel that you feel that same way about
Yes.
me.
Yes.
So the bottom line is, if you can't trust your narrator, don't use that narrator.
Right.
And narrators, if you don't feel like you can trust that author to trust you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and or on anything, right? On the financials, on the writing, on the fixes,
Exactly.
then don't work with them. Trust, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I mean, and I think the awareness too that, it's like I wouldn't try and put the roof on my own house. I'm going to hire somebody that's an expert at doing it, right? I'm not going to try and narrate my own book. I'm going to hire an expert to do it. And I'm going to trust that they're an expert. And if they're not, then I am the one that has chosen poorly. And that has not been my experience. And so, of course, I absolutely 100% trust you. You are the expert. And I would be a fool. And again, no disparagement to other authors, but I would be a fool not to. Otherwise, you, I, I think the thing is, how much buy-in does the narrator then have to make it the best that they could possibly? And I'm not, again, most people are professionals and they try and do their best work, but I think having that level of trust, having that level of acknowledgement and respect for your artistry as an artist, and your experience, far greater than mine in that regard, is essential. And that's the only way this works.
We had a conversation a long time ago. It's just, nobody's perfect. There's the pursuit of perfection is impossible, right?
Right.
It's spitting in the wind. But and it's funny because it was a long time ago that we had this conversation, and we actually did it behind the mic. It came up talking about, and I don't know what the novel was, but it doesn't mean you don't try, and there's this, somebody asked me for a rate sheet, and that tells me they've been working with too many people for too long, or they're aware of this business as just a job. It's
Yes.
just a job,
Yeah.
right? And it's so much more than just a job for
Yeah.
me. And it's that, nothing will ever be perfect, but the pursuit of the highest level of excellence possible,
Exactly.
that's integrity. It's not
Yes.
perfection, it's integrity. So
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. And no, but what fun. This has been fun.
Good. So let's preview. So we just had the Renegade of Elden came out May 1st. And Fugitive is slated to come out June 1st.
Yes, and I will let you know that we've recorded 25% of it, although none of it has been edited yet. But 25%, we will probably finish recording on May the 7th. Very
That's
exciting.
amazing. That's super. And then
it's really good. It's really different. It's so different than all the other stories.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It blows my mind.
And then the newest release after 9 years, after a 9-year hiatus, will be The Savior of Elden, and that will be coming out on July 1st, which is super exciting to me because this is a project I've been working on for a long time, and to finally get it out and to get our audiobook out with it is going to be really exciting. But
it's exciting.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to. We will be back with another Behind the Mic to talk about Fugitive and Renegade, the process of doing that. We've already got some questions for you about that. But this has been Behind the Mic number 30. And this is our special edition to talk about sort of the process of doing audiobooks. Thank you, Kelley.
You betcha. It was too much fun. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Hamilton and Hazen Behind the Mic. Visit authormlhamilton.net and kellyhazennarrates.com to join our newsletters for more insider news and views. Today's episode is sponsored by Phoenix Publication Services. PPS, Digital Shepherds. Let us ignite your writing goals.